This is without a doubt one of the absolute biggest miscarriages of justice that we have covered at Surviving the Survivor. If you watch this show, you know about Ellen Greenberg, the elementary school teacher, stabbed 20 times, 10 to the front, 10 to the very back of her head, with a giant gash on the top of her head. And lo and behold, that death was ruled a suicide back in 2011. Now it is the mystery at the center of a new docuseries by Hulu called Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg?
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. And as I've said, if you've been following Surviving the Survivor for the better part of 3 years, we have been all over the case of Ellen Greenberg. We've had her parents, Josh and Sandee, on often. We've had the homicide prosecutor, Guy DeAndrea, who's going to be featured in this documentary along with Ellen's parents and some other key players. And of all the stories that we cover, and we cover a lot of really crazy stories that don't always add up in terms of making sense, without a doubt, the one that frustrates me more than any of the others is the suspicious death of Ellen Greenberg back in 2011. And again, there is now, thankfully, I've been waiting for this day, a 3-part docuseries premiering today called Death in Apartment 603, What Happened to Ellen Greenberg, and it is directed by Nancy Schwartzman. Let's welcome her to the show. Nancy, thank you for being here, and let's just jump right into it. I mean, first of all, this has got to be fairly close to the heart for you because you grew up in Bryn Mawr, which is just a stone's throw away from Manayunk, which is a suburb of Philly where this all happened.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I grew up in Bryn Mawr. My family, especially my mom, very Philly family. I played tennis in Manayunk. So I played at the Arthur Ashe Tennis Center, which is no longer there because of all the gentrification of Manayunk. But I was going to Manayunk as a 12-year-old up until I graduated high school. So, I know that area really, really well. I grew up, I went to public school for most of my schooling. And then the last few years, I went to the Shipley School, which is where Sam Goldberg went a few years after I graduated. So, I mean, this whole thing, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is really my backyard. And I've never had the opportunity to tell a story in Philadelphia. So it was really poignant and important. But I also just feel like I know this world really well.
And for those who don't know, Sam Goldberg was Ellen Greenberg's fiance at the time. We're going to jump into that in a minute. But it's been 14 long years, and when you talk to Josh and Sandee, and I'm sure you've seen this, and they're fantastic people, but it's certainly taken a toll financially, but emotionally. Why do you think, as someone who's in the media landscape and a director of documentaries and successful at that, it's taken 14 years to really kind of crack this open in terms of a media response and media scrutiny? Why so long, do you think?
That's a good question. I think, look, the team that all came together around this series, I got really lucky that so much work had been done. Like, it's very hard to get a story off the ground if that story is not quote unquote famous, right? If it's not a famous person, if everybody doesn't know it, like the Menendez brothers or something like that, which we know the story's been told multiple times, but this is a relatively unknown story. And maybe because it's Philadelphia to start, I don't know. But coming on board to it, we already had depositions, which is incredibly useful. We had a 911 call that we were able to use. Joe Pedraza, the attorney, had already petitioned for the surveillance footage. Like, so much had been done, that really enables you not only to tell the story well, but to get a network to say, yes, it's like, we have all of this stuff now. We can show, introduce you to people that you haven't met yet, and really, get all of the players involved while using these court documents and this video. So I'm not sure why Ellen's story had been in People already. So look, when we started filming, that's when all the producers went nuts, and so I know that the family and has had requests from everybody. So it did really hit when People wrote about it and CNN wrote about it. And at that point, we were already greenlit and filming. So
Yeah.
it was good timing.
And you mentioned the 911 call and the trailer to this docu-series. It opens with that 911 call.
Help, my fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere. Please hurry. There's a knife sticking out of her heart. Oh, no!
If you want to get away with a homicide, have it declared a suicide.
Death in apartment 603.
We played that many times on Surviving the Survivor, and it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds in before her fiance, and she's on her back, allegedly, when she's found. And it's almost like 2 minutes and 30 seconds before Sam Goldberg notices this large knife sticking out of her chest. I'm just curious, your thoughts on, as you took on this project and you heard that 911 call. There are a lot of issues with that call, I think.
Yeah, well, Ellen was found seated, just to be clear, sort of in the corner. We went back into the apartment where Ellen was killed, just to really understand sort of the architecture of the space and the distance from the door to where her body was found. And that's a 10-foot distance. So look, and if you're in a state of trauma, you might not see something, and we don't know how we're going to react in that moment. But it does show, if you can't see it, that you're not close to the body, right? And if I saw someone I was madly in love with, that I was going to marry, or even a friend, or even a stranger, I would probably get very close to the body, even though I don't necessarily want to be there and be in the blood of it, right? I would want to try to help immediately. So there is a sense that there's some distance between Sam and Ellen. There's also, I think, what people hear in the 911 call is what seems like reluctance to do CPR. I guess I have to. Again, people can be squeamish about bodies. I do understand that. I am squeamish myself, even though I work in this realm. But I think when people hear that and imagine themselves in that position of, this is the person you love, you want to do anything to get them alive, and minutes really count. It's a very unusual call.
Yeah, and one of the things that struck me about the call too, and I don't want to give away too much, but you'll hear this, is Sam sort of offers a method of the death. He says that she fell on the knife, but apparently he's not there. Did you find that curious?
Yeah, I mean, I keep referencing the musical Chicago, but I feel like no one has seen it. But there's a great song in it. And there's a woman who says, yeah, he fell on a knife. He fell on a knife 9 times, right? So it's like, how do you fall? I mean, falling on a knife is very strange. It would have to be a really kind of miraculous setup for that to work in a way. But look, we brought in experts. I'm not here to give my forensic or medical opinion. And we brought in a forensic medical expert who says there are stabbing suicides. They're uncommon, but they exist. They're not usually women who do them, but again, it happens. And she had investigated stabbing suicides in the past. However, she had never seen anyone stab themselves in the back.
Yeah.
As a manner of death. So regardless if you fell forward for the fatal blow, how is law enforcement explaining 10 stab wounds to the back and a blunt force trauma to the skull? In addition, the medical examiner and another one who did a report found evidence of choking as well. So strap muscles having wounding on them. So like there's just more going on Ellen's body, regardless of how she's found or the story told about it.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen's body is the crime scene in addition to that kitchen, and it was not treated as such. There are clues in her body that were not properly investigated. There are 11 bruises on her body in various stages of healing, which means some are old. They're not from the incident. And there is wounding to the neck, in addition to 10 stab wounds in the front and 10 in the back. So that body tells a story and was not properly handled to really get to the bottom of the story.
There is a reason why Surviving the Survivor has the best guests in all of true crime, just like there's a reason that Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Not all law firms are created equal, and choosing the wrong one can cost you. If you've been in a serious accident or suffered an injury, your case could be worth millions, and that's why it's important to have the right legal team on your side. With over 1,000 attorneys nationwide and 35 years of experience, Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you the money you deserve. They've recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients, and the results really speak for themselves. In Florida recently, a client received $12 million after the insurance company offered just $350,000. And another got $20 million after insurance offered nothing. Then in Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million. That's 40 times the insurer's $650,000 offer. When you hire Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring a legal army that has your back. And if you're injured because of someone else's negligence, then you deserve to be paid. So if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. You can start your claim now by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen from your phone's camera. By the way, I'm just thinking of my own question about why it's taken the media really this long. And shout out to Laura Diamond as a producer on your series. But she and I met during this case. We have friends in common here in Miami. And one of the reasons is that there's no ending. There's no resolution. But I'm hoping through this series that maybe we move it along. And to that point, there was a 2025 settlement in this case. It took that long for Josh and Sandee Greenberg to essentially finally sue 3 City of Philadelphia employees. And on the eve of this, what was going to be a jury trial, the employees settled basically on behalf of the City of Philadelphia. And as part of that, they had to give the Greenberg $600,000 and a quote unquote expeditious review of the case. But absolutely nothing's been done. And now the judge has absolutely blasted, a Philadelphia judge blasted their own city, basically saying, get your act together. Now they have till October 14th. So you're walking into now a living, breathing, very palpable case. That's got to be interesting for you, Nancy.
Yes. Our first day of filming was February 3rd, with City Hall. It was like bringing all of our gear into the halls of justice, essentially. And we think it's going to be a jury selection. So it's like, okay, what are we going to film? It doesn't matter. We're here. We should be here. It's day of. We'll talk to the Greenbergs a little bit beforehand, and then, we'll see what happens. And I just remember it was like, boring production stuff, but we're encroaching on like a lunch break, and when do we break, and is anything happening? And now the Greenbergs have gone with their lawyers to a breakout room. Do we break the team now? Something going to happen? And then Joe Pedraza exits and says, we've reached a settlement. And it was so dramatic. We went from a judge saying, there needs to be a media embargo on this because the medical examiner 2 days prior had published and said, now that I've learned a few new things, had I been able to do it again, I would change my designation to something other than suicide. So Marlon Osborne, Dr. Osborne says that on January 29th. That makes the front page of the Philadelphia Inquirer. I need to shout out Stephanie Farr, who has had and done tireless coverage of this case from the beginning. And she is the person who broke this case.
Yeah, she does not get, by the way, she does not, including from me, does not get enough credit, but shout out to Stephanie. She has been on this from day one.
Credit in the series.
Yeah.
She's why the case broke.
Good.
She is the reason we know about this case. And that's a year of work. And that is 17 editors of the Philadelphia Inquirer, going through her stuff. So thanks to her, we have a lot of information that was FOIA'd and made public because of her journalistic rigor. So Stephanie writes about the medical examiner on the 29th. It makes the front page. The judge is mad. The judge is like, why is this in the news? And, it wasn't clear that it wasn't supposed to be in the news. So at first we're like, well, shit, we're here to film. But now the judge is really mad and maybe we can't film anything. And then, a few hours later, the settlement is reached. So that's the first day of filming. We have actual verite. Things are unfolding. It's totally wild. And then they say this will be handled expeditiously. So I remember in April, I reached out to my line producer and I said, we need to reserve like a day or two of filming because I think they're going to have an answer. And that was April. And already April is several weeks past February, but it's still, I'm like, we just got to hold on to a day or two that we think the judge is we're going to have a ruling, As we're wrapping in August, it was like, we don't have an answer. We have an end card that says the judge, the city has still not made a determination. So in an amazing stroke of luck, September 3rd, recently, not even a month ago, a judge forces the city to explain how is 9 months expeditious? Where is the answer? Where's the reexamination? So we have a cliffhanger here. The series is going to walk you through all the twists and turns and the pieces of evidence and all of the stuff. And then the cliff is really on October 14th. The city's going to have to answer, is this a homicide? Is this undetermined? Or are they going to double down and say it's a suicide?
So I've got to ask. So this is a 3-part series. I'm assuming the 3 parts then are not completed yet, or are they? Are all 3 parts
they're
completed?
Everything.
Okay, so all 3 parts are completed. So so we'll likely. I'm thinking we get some more episodes then, but so October 14th is basically D-Day for the city of Philadelphia, and again, the city did blast them. You heard Nancy mention Joe Pedraza. He's been the dogged attorney for the Greenbergs. And then you heard another name that's a very big name, and that's Dr. Marlon Osborne. He was the medical examiner who initially ruled Ellen's death was initially ruled a homicide, then switched to undetermined, and then to a suicide.
It was never switched to undetermined. Never. It was law enforcement on scene ruled it a suicide, which is inappropriate. They shouldn't have done that. Osborne saw the body, used common sense, said homicide. Then there was a clash, but it was never ruled in the middle. And then after a closed door meeting, it was ruled. Yeah, closed door meeting is the operative phrase there, and you'll find out more about that. Now, the players that I'm interested in, for lack of a better term, obviously the fiance Sam Goldberg, and the night this happens, he reaches out to his powerful uncle, a judge and a criminal defense attorney named James Schwartzman, and cousin Kamian Schwartzman. I'm just wondering, I assume you reached out to them. Sam spoke to CNN via statement not that long. He didn't actually talk to them. Any luck getting in touch with either of those, any of those 3 people? No, we reached out to Philadelphia Police Department, the medical examiner's office, Dr. Osborne, Dr. Galino, the district attorney's office, the attorney general's office, the governor's office, Sam Goldberg, Sam's uncle, And all of those people refused to sit for an interview.
Did they give you a statement? Did they give you anything?
Let's see. No, I mean, the city did not, which I find really problematic. I think with the reinvestigation, they said it was ongoing. So that was before the judge called them forward. So we didn't get any sort of even lip service to we care about women's safety. It wouldn't be hard to say something like, this is a terrible crime. We care about the safety of women. If this was a homicide, we would treat it really carefully. If it was something else, we treat it carefully. Like nothing, not even basic talking points to reassure citizens, especially women, that the city cares if you're found with 20 stab wounds, that they're going to look into it. Like, that doesn't make me feel safe. That means, oh, I'm going to take someone's word over what is evidence in the room here, so not very reassuring.
And I don't want to give away, because this is a really compelling story, but you'll hear about James Schwartzman and Kamian Schwartzman, and when they arrive at the apartment, what they leave with is pretty astonishing. Then you've got DA.
I need to correct. We don't know for sure if it was Kamian Schwartzman. So we do know it was James Schwartzman, and it was another person. So we don't know.
Okay.
Irrefutably. So James is Sam's uncle, and James makes a call saying, I need to pick up affects, photos, and Sam needs a suit for the funeral, just so people know. In Jewish custom, when someone dies, they're buried very quickly, like within 48 hours. So there's,
were you able to confirm though that Sam did in fact call his cousin before calling 911?
We have a letter from Sam's uncle that says that, but that's not necessarily part of the series because it's legally quite complicated to include that detail. So Sam also called Ellen's mom before calling 911. Sam called Ellen multiple times. Yeah.
And obviously people are going to have to make some decisions while watching this on their own. But one of the other sort of key figures, and this is not a spoiler alert because you mentioned this in the trailer as well, Governor Josh Shapiro has a connection to the Schwartzman family, as far as I know, and was first a state senator and then an attorney general. I'm not even sure how I want to ask this question, but does Governor Shapiro should he be curious to watch this docuseries himself?
Well, listen, this is a series that, highlights irrefutable facts and evidence. Family connections, tenuous or otherwise, are not necessarily part of the series because we think the evidence of where the investigation went wrong and what was hinged on calling it suicide is incredibly strong. So Governor Shapiro should absolutely watch the series because he inherited Ellen's case when he was the attorney general. It would have been fantastic for someone to inherit this case and say, whoa, this crime scene wasn't held. Whoa, the chain of custody was broken on the technology. Whoa, Ellen had 10 stab wounds in the back and had never expressed suicidal ideation. We should look into this, even though I wasn't AG when it happened. I am now. Let me right this wrong. The other reason you should watch it is after the settlement, which was February 3rd, Governor Shapiro was asked on February 7th.
Yep.
And he continued to double down on searches found on Ellen's computer that override all of this other information and evidence that points to suicide. So to me, again, that would be a moment to right a wrong, to say we care deeply, instead of saying the Greenbergs. On some level, there was some paraphrasing that implied the Greenbergs wouldn't let it go. And it's like searches on a computer that A, the FBI never found at the beginning, and B, were done on a computer where the chain of custody was broken, should not override everything else. And there's so much else to look at. There's surveillance footage, there's text messages, there's wounding, there's medical examination. So it's just like nobody in power in the institutions have been willing to right a wrong. I would say Dr. Osborne comes the closest, maybe because he didn't want to get sued. But regardless, he comes the closest. He says, okay, upon further reflection. But yeah, I think Philadelphia Police Department should watch the doc. I think Governor Shapiro should watch the doc. Yes.
Yeah. DA Larry Krasner, let's add him to the list.
Sure.
Just to be clear, what Nancy was just talking about, this was not a press conference on Ellen Greenberg. This was just a random press conference where our friend, the show, Brian Enton, asked a question for News Nation. And this is coming right on the heels of the medical examiner saying this is essentially anything but a suicide. And again, Josh Shapiro, the governor of the Commonwealth of PA, he doubles down and says, well, there's no new evidence. And the parents are just essentially complaining. I'm paraphrasing, but it was incredibly insensitive, especially to parents going through this. And Josh Shapiro, I sure hope you're watching this, because I know you want to be president, and it ain't going to happen unless you take some sort of control or responsibility, and you have the power to investigate this. So last question for you, because I know you have to run. So October 14th is a big day. So what would you like? I mean, what's your hope for this docuseries, and are you planning additional episodes?
My hope is that people get to know Ellen, and at the core, you and I are really talking about the legality and the institutions, and some other people want to really go into the details of the crime. And like at the core of it is incredible young woman whose life was taken far too soon, and a family that's been through the ringer and never really even had the opportunity to grieve their child. And so first and foremost, it's really about understanding Ellen and the impact she had and who she was, and hopefully challenging viewers to understand nuances within a relationship, understand the kind of pressures a young person's under when they think they're marrying the man, the person of their dreams. And then to follow the twists and turns in this case. And really, we are not offering up rumors or insinuations. It is all fact-based, fact-driven, to the highest level of journalistic integrity. And all of the elements are, entered into evidence or verifiable. So once all of those facts are laid out and you really hear the story, can anyone in their right mind call this a suicide? So what we're hoping is that most people say, oh my God, no way. What on earth? And a reinvestigation occurs, because that's what justice could look. There's no justice when your child is gone, but you can feel like maybe the institutions that we elect and pay taxes to have to protect us are doing their jobs.
Yeah, and Tom Brennan is a longtime private investigator for the family. He basically says that the case was never, he's a character, that the case was never, ever investigated. So let's investigate this after 14 years. I got to ask real quickly, did you ask Governor Shapiro for a sit-down interview? What did the office say?
Oh, they said no.
Shocking. Yeah. Well, as I like to say, it's always shady in Philadelphia. And I love Philly. I just don't like Philly politics, but it is definitely always shady in Philly. The docuseries on Hulu is Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg? This is the show's director, Nancy Schwartzman. Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg? Love you, America. Love you, Philadelphia, even though you're shady. And let's get justice for Ellen Greenberg. Nancy, stick around 1 second.